weekend also coincided, that is yesterday being Sunday, coincided with the deadline set by ECOWAS for the coupists in Niger to restore President Mohamed Bazoum to power. The deadline came and went, and here we are now. Well, my guest this morning to look at the Niger coup, ECOWAS, military rule, and threats of war. That's the caption of our conversation topic. Our guest is, Professor Babafemi Badejo. Professor Badejo is a legal practitioner, and he's also a professor of political science and international relations at Chrisland University, Abeokuta, and he's also a former deputy special representative for Somalia. This goes back to his days at the UN. Good morning, Prof, and thank you very much.
Good morning.
Indeed.
Good morning.
Indeed. Well, as I was saying, Prof, to get into it with both feet immediately, the deadline has come and gone. The coupists have dug in, if that is the expression to use. They are saying they are not having any of it. Nigeria has done what it has done. It has sent representatives. He's even said, sent the our defense people, sent former military president Abdulsalami Abubakar and the revered Sultan of Sokoto. They wouldn't be received. So there was no luck there. So I guess before we get into it, starting from there, Prof, I wanted to ask, now what? The deadline has come and gone. Now what?
Well, I don't know if it is correct to say they wouldn't be received.
Okay.
Because if they wouldn't be received, they wouldn't be allowed to land. They would be asked to turn back from their airspace and not land. So they were received, and there was a meeting at the airport, which is not unusual for this kind of situation.
Okay.
So General Absalami Abubakar and the Sultan and the president of ECOWAS Commission met.
I think the president of Togo.
Met at the
airport.
At the airport.
Okay.
And yes, they were not allowed to meet with Mohamed Bazoum, the overthrown president of Niger, and neither did they meet the head, to the best of my knowledge, neither did they meet the head of the current de facto government in Niger.
Indeed. Thank you, Prof, for stating it out particularly like that, because that is what I meant. They didn't achieve all the objectives they had wanted to achieve. You would have thought people of that stature coming from Nigeria, there's a sense in which I have heard people say, and I think it is well known, that Nigeria is not at war with Niger. And from that point of view, maybe it wasn't exactly the friendliest of actions, but then one can understand the circumstances. So when I asked, now what? So to speak, in Niger, they have called the bluff of ECOWAS, because ECOWAS was particular in saying that, look, these are our requests, and in the absence of our getting any success with those requests, we just might use the last option. I think that was, paraphrasing it, that's the way it went. So now we have a situation where, well, it has come, it has gone, and I was wondering what your view would be of the situation now. Because for a while, Nigeria was among those who continued to say the attempted coup, but it's been over 48 hours now, and people who know about these things say that by the time a coup is in place for 48 hours, maybe people should stop using the word attempted.
Well, you seem to have telescoped
Yes.
A lot.
Sorry.
I don't think it is the package you have put across. We issued a threat via ECOWAS and also as Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And we also cut electricity. Some people are saying, oh, the reason we cut electricity is different, it is this, it is that. But the fact is, Ajekelano or Mokuleni, we cut electricity after this problem started. And we expected to be received, with an embrace. That's also not realistic on our part as Nigeria and also as ECOWAS. Indeed, the ECOWAS communique set out a number of steps, and the communique was not talking about war as the first thing. It was talking about the possibility of war as a last resort. But we were driven into an international media situation. If you don't stop in 7 days' time, by the way, 7 days from when is the counting? Because you are telling me, oh, it lapsed yesterday. That is 8th day from what I know,
Okay, okay. Yes, I cannot take that again. The Sunday to Sunday being the 8th day, right?
So the 7 days had lapsed since, but we continue to be in denial.
That it actually lapsed before yesterday.
Yes, yes. But the international media is defining these things for us, and we are repeating them without. Our president issued that 7 days, as the African Union was issuing 15 days.
Yes.
Yes, and all that was done on July 30, Sunday. So the deadline of the lapsing is on Saturday. That's the 7th day.
Okay. That even makes it slightly worse in terms of, now these people have stood their ground. Let me put it like that. Let me change the metaphor from calling their bluff to stood their ground. These people have stood their ground. So I'm saying that with the whole might of ECOWAS communicating like that, and the people are not budging, not just not budging, the people of Niger, the coupists are not budging.
Is it the coupists alone?
Well, those are the people that we have to talk to.
Yes, those are the people that we have to talk to. But even if they succeeded in renting the crowd that we saw at their stadium, then we should be concerned.
When you say that, sir, are you alluding to the fact that there appears to be some support, maybe even popular support?
I wouldn't say some support, because we are choosing what we want to hear and what we want to see. We are saying somebody was elected into office. I'm avoiding democracy, because for me, election is not democracy.
Okay.
So somebody was elected into office to represent the sovereignty of the country, and he was overthrown, and he's held hostage. Okay? So if that is the case, we expect people to go all out and say, those who, we put this man there. I remember as a kid, even the one we didn't put there, as a kid, I was crossing the Kata Bridge with my friends when Dimka struck at you know, and we were like, okay, whatever it takes, we are going to face these guys from University of Lagos. I was a student. But, okay, some people came out to support Bazoum. Mm-hmm. There were shootings in the air and everything. They went back into their houses. And other people came out overwhelmingly saying that we are with the Coupists. Now, all this, we have moral problems to deal with of a government that was elected being overthrown. Mm-hmm. But we should also not lose track of the popular reaction. I'm not in a position to know, because we are used to people renting crowds in Nigeria.
Okay.
From the elections that produced Shagari in '83 and Buhari overthrew Shagari. We are used to people renting a crowd. But the crowd that filled up that stadium would have been an enormous amount of money for a poor country like Niger if you went to hire them. What is driving them to associate with the Coupists? Maybe looking at some of those issues may open our eyes wider as to how do we relate to our brethren across the border, and how do we solve this problem? Oh, indeed, there is a problem. Our President Tinubu, had the leadership of ECOWAS thrown at him.
That's right.
Not because he wanted it. It was the turn
of Nigeria.
No. It was for the Francophone people to produce the next president.
Okay.
But the Francophone countries gathered and said, Nigeria is our leader, Tinubu should have it.
So it wasn't a matter of rotational
anything? No, it wasn't that it was rotating back to us. And we took it gladly.
Yeah.
Okay. But our president, in taking it gladly, was not emphasizing the core of why we set up ECOWAS, why Gawan joined Eyadema to set up ECOWAS in 1975. The core of it was integration and economic development. But the situation of Liberia dragged us into to have a protocol that had to do with dealing with instability.
Okay.
And it was correct, because we now see very clearly that instability, once it is there, you cannot develop. And when you violate human rights, you cannot develop. When you cannot build your humanitarian resilience against nature, you cannot develop. All these things are interlinked. So once we understand those interlinkages, then we can say that it could be okay that our president chose to emphasize elected governments. I'm avoiding using the word democracy. Elected governments are not pushed out of office at the will of those who are carrying guns. I would have preferred, as a Nigerian, that he is emphasizing the development that is making it impossible for the leadership in West Africa to provide for the needs of the people. If you cannot eat, what do you care about whether somebody is in charge of the office or not? Those are for the elites to be looking among themselves as to who is there. The man on the street is talking about being well fed and being able to carry out its daily affair, not being persecuted, and all those other things that are crucial. So our president chose to focus on, if that was what he emphasized.
Yes.
If you overthrow, we will never accept this again in West Africa. Fine, fine. In no time, he was put on the spot.
Yeah. So exactly. So maybe is that why it's a bit difficult to answer the question, what next? What now? Because, sorry, sir, maybe I should just add a little bit more. I don't think anybody has an appetite for conflict in our region, in our sub-region. So with that theoretical supposition on my part that neither Nigeria nor any other African country wants to see one African country engaging the other in warfare, it's against that backdrop that I was wondering, so now we have a real diplomatic conundrum here. So what next?
The point you have made is very well taken. Our people do not want to fight themselves. Across the border in Niger, 53% of that 27 point whatever million people happen to be Hausas.
Okay. Yes, the biggest language.
Yes, followed by the ones Yorubas call Sabarumo.
That's right.
So the Sabarumo are 20-something%. So you are talking about almost 75% of people that you can immediately say if you join those two. But there are still others that there is the joke some people have been putting around that they feel sorry for our immediate past president because his motherland is about to fight his fatherland.
I saw that joke too on the internet.
Okay. So it's telling you about how entrenched we are together. You walk outside in some of the places. One of my son friends was telling me that he went visiting in Sokoto and they took a stroll. And while taking the stroll with his wife and his friend, and the guy said, well, do you know that you are no longer in Nigeria? You are now in Niger. Kola Awodeyin, son.
That is for being in Sokoto?
Yes, that he just walked across, going to Sokoto State. So I'm saying about this closeness that has been there all along. But the supposition you have made, while it is very correct, you are not factoring in the external dynamics of our lives.
Okay.
We are not ourselves alone. We say we have independence, right? Yes, but if you have independence and bases are in Niger, US drones base, where we were resisting all these things in Nigeria when they wanted to set up Africa Command, and then the Liberian president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, said, don't worry about Nigeria, set up here in Liberia. So we have that in, and then the French never left. And in the problem of that, West, if you like, NATO, you also now have those who are contending with NATO also present. China has been providing so much for Niger. China is building their access to the sea for oil to move, the pipeline, and several other things that the Chinese are providing. So you have to then look at all that. And if there is problem for those that Bazoum was more akin to, then we have to deal with the fact that the United States will not give up its base without a fight. That's not the US.
And France has already indicated
and
as
France,
much already.
France is just saying, ECOWAS go in, we will support you. France only needs to use the cover of ECOWAS to do whatever it wants to do. Why should we allow ourselves to be used
in that way? So, you know, for a proxy war, for a proxy war.
A proxy war is building up. The members of the Security Council are building themselves up for the Ukrainization of Niger and Nigeria. Because whatever happens in Niger will not stop in Niger.
That's the problem.
You know, so if we think we are going to fight in Niger and we are not de-escalating to find a way out, then definitely missiles will be thrown across.
You know, I find it unfortunate, Prof, that people in discussing this, maybe along the, you know, in the sub-region, they're mentioning Nigeria instead of ECOWAS. It's Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. It's ECOWAS. President Tinubu didn't act in his personal capacity.
Yes, yes, I agree that it is ECOWAS, and he is acting as the current chairman of ECOWAS. But if you have been involved at the international level, the question of what is ECOWAS most of the time borders on Nigeria.
Because we pick up the biggest part of the bill.
And also, it's correct for us to pick that bill. I have always disagreed with people who say that, no, if you are a regional hegemon, and that hegemonic position that you hold, it comes with responsibilities. The only problem is that we don't then take advantage of the things that should come to us for being the ones that is carrying much of that. Up till now, who has indicated a readiness to follow us into Niger if we want to go for that last resort? Only Senegal. Only Senegal has spoken up. The others are still waiting in the wing.
Like, let somebody else speak first.
Yes, that it's where Nigeria goes, that we will go. When we went into Gambia, how many people showed up? It was Nigeria, Senegal, and Ghana. Yes, I was told that some people claim their presence there by having staff officers. Staff officers are not fighting people. They are not combat people. So if you can put 5 staff officers at the headquarters of the team, then you are saying that you are part of it. But technically, you know, you are not, but you have raised your flag.
You know, indeed, sir. Now, as you no doubt know, the senators representing the 7 northern states have said loudly that, look, going into Niger belligerently is tantamount to declaring a war on northern Nigeria, us, the people there. And of course, you know, because they say that these are our blood, these are our flesh. I mean, these are people that we don't have a problem with them. I've heard that. We don't have a problem with them. So for this to now be happening at this time, and all the things you said until now that might have been put into consideration, possibly was not in their estimation. So they are sounding it out loud and clear, and these are Nigerian senators who are saying that we can't see our way to understanding why this action is necessary. Now, that surely, I don't know, that won't be gladdening the hearts of the presidency.
I know that I have not answered your question, and it is deliberate. What next? Because if we start with what next, then we won't be seeing some of the things you are bringing out now.
Okay.
We would have boxed ourselves, you and I, into a corner.
Okay, I got to take a break, sir. So I'm going to come back and get a fuller.
No, you've spoken about the Senate. I want to go to that.
I'm going to. So that you won't be interrupted, sir. Okay. Let me quickly take this break, and we'll be right back. Please stay with us. We'll include your calls as well.
I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Okay, welcome back. Our guest is Professor Babafemi Badejo, former Deputy Special Representative for Somalia at the United Nations, currently a legal practitioner and Professor of Political Science and International Relations at Chrisland University in Abeokuta. And we're looking at the Niger coup, ECOWAS military rule and threats of war. So I had asked the professor much earlier on, what now? Now that, and he corrected me, that it's not Sunday to Sunday, it's actually Sunday to Saturday. So 7 days elapsed, you know, at that time. So if we're going to be strictly accurate, it would have been as of Saturday, not as of Sunday. But I had asked what next. And just before we went on break, Prof said he was not unmindful of the fact that he hadn't actually asked that question, and then added that our own senators, meaning Nigerian senators of the states that line the border between us, I think 7 of those states, have said that any movement into Niger belligerently, they will consider a war on northern Nigeria as well.
Yes, 5 of them met with our president yesterday. We don't have a readout on what transpired from that meeting. But before that meeting took place, as you rightly pointed out, our Senate received a letter from our president with the communique that ECOWAS had put together, a number of things that ECOWAS had in it, which you can even see as probably implying step-by-step actions with force as the last resort. And they considered what was before them, and it seemed to me that they are saying that, no, Mr. President, we are not going to approve what you want under Section 5, subsection 4A of our Constitution. Because our Constitution made it very clear that before you deploy Nigerian troops into anywhere outside of Nigeria for combat duties, you must receive the approval of the Senate. But there is a second portion, and that's the B, that says before you declare war on another country, you must have a resolution of the two houses of our National Assembly meeting in a joint session endorsing what you want to do. You know, and so we are not talking about declaration of war. No. Okay.
The Senate President made that clear.
Okay. We are, because if we are under threat and you see that somebody is about to attack us and our national security is about, then you can go ahead and respond, but come within 7 days. Yes. To say, okay. So he proceeded under the 5.4a and indicated that should we come to this stage, I need your approval. What I understood was that that approval was not given. But then you will say that is the end, right?
Well, can't be.
It is reasonable to expect that then let's rule out, okay, we have tried to rule out war. But don't forget that Vladimir Putin, up to now, says, I am on special military operation in Ukraine. He has never said that Russia is at war. Because when you say that you're at war, there are several other things that kick in place. So our president can say, we're just having a military intervention. But 4A even stops him from having a military intervention because that is deploying Nigerian troops into a combat situation. But they said, in the large part, we are not giving that approval. And you would have thought, great, tension is over. But what's our history? The Senate in 2017 said exactly the same thing to Buhari over his wanting to deploy our troops into a combat situation in the Gambia. What he deployed. That raises the question of rule of law.
Yes, yes.
And that raises, and what happened, even though he, you know, what happened thereafter? Nothing, nothing, because we are not a people that respect the law we make.
Well, President Tinubu has cast himself and is largely seen in the mode of a Democrat, a firm believer in the rule of law. He spent a lot of his speech time underlining those particular criteria. And my guess is that President Tinubu would not be comfortable to go the way of ignoring the dictates of rule of law.
I will be pleased. I will be pleasantly pleased that for a change, we have a president that we can count on when it comes to the issue of rule of law. If he keeps that, not just on this issue, but on several others, you know, some people, let me not go away from to the local politics, because there are issues we can talk about on the question of rule of law now. But let's leave that and say that, okay, so if we are not pursuing anything bordering on trying to teach these people a lesson, the Coupists, in order to say that never again will it happen in West Africa. And our international handlers are not going to be pushing us and goading us that you just start something, then we will come and support you. Of course, once we are not into all that, then great. We can now be saying, how do we do some of the things we should have done before?
That we might have done first.
Yes, things that we should have done. First of all, are we competing with the African Union that gave a deadline of 15 days to reverse the coup when we issued 7? I'm not even supporting the issuance of any deadline.
Any deadline.
Because
the AU said 15 days.
Yes.
We said, ECOWAS said 7.
Yes, and the AU itself would be fooled, if I can use that word. Because this does not look like something that is about to end in 15 days either. So how do we embark on diplomatic efforts to de-escalate on the problems that we have on our hand? How do we implement some of the things in the communique that are not going for the big guns first? How do we ensure that our ambassador in Niger, I read that the Nigerian was saying that they have broken relations with, but I've not seen in the news that our ambassador has re-entered into Nigeria. So if he is still there, he has a lot of role to play
in all of this.
In all of this.
So that we can make some sort
yes,
of sense out
yes,
of it.
in building relationship between the Nigerian and ourselves.
One moment, sir. Well, as we're speaking, Mr. Kolawole has called in from Ajangbadi. Good morning to you, Mr. Kolawole.
Good morning to you, sir, Mr. YORI FOLARIN.
Thank you very much for calling in. You got an opinion or a question for the prof?
An opinion.
Okay.
My opinion. The federal government diplomatically should work with Senegal and move in. The military doesn't have anything in democracy. They don't have anything in democracy. They only know yes, sir, yes, sir. And they ruin the economy. The military ruined the economy of Nigeria till today. So that should not be allowed in other West African countries. Nigeria should sought the support of the EU to raise funds and to move in.
Okay then, Mr. Kolawole. I think I got your premise. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your contributing that opinion. Well, he said Nigeria might approach the EU, European Union, for funds to move in. I don't know, first of all, well, he asked the question, and it's a free program, so for whatever that is worth, because I was wondering, it's an African thing. Why would we go to where France is a member of that union and seek their support?
Well, he probably is being realistic. He's seeing that we cannot do it alone because we are the only one able to come up with any funding that is reasonable in ECOWAS. And we are in serious problem over our own economic situation, even unlike when we went into the Gambia, unlike when we went into Guinea-Bissau in 2012, unlike when we went into a number of places. Now, how much did the EU give us, reimburse us over the fighting to save our brothers in Liberia and Sierra Leone? How much did the United States give us? Liberia alone is estimated as having cost us $8 billion. That
engagement in Liberia.
In Liberia. The estimates that I have read for the totality is about $13 billion. Some say $15 billion. We did not get a kobo from, well, since we are using dollar, we did not get a cent from anybody. So we carried that bond alone, but the people who should have put money forward to assist us then are the ones who are extracting from the economies of Liberia and Sierra Leone today. Well, we have some of our banks there, and that's the end of it.
And as you know, Putin of Russia, he is concentrating on the image of being against colonialists, trying to, intervene, and he's just casting himself that if you need my support, I'm here for you. I am against what you are against. But Mazi Okoroafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Sir Yori. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Yes.
Sir Yori and our guests in the studio and we don't need to take force and go to that place because that place is a very, very hot place. Reason, like what our guests have been analyzing, kinetic theory that is happening now in terms of fighting between Putin and Ukraine. Ukraine people are fighting it, and Putin man and their boys are already in that Mali. And it is very, very difficult for ECOWAS to succeed. Somebody like Wenger that did mutiny in Russia, Belarus took him. He went to Belarus people at the town with how many missionaries? 50,000. And those 50,000 people are standby. So if ECOWAS is to step in there, it will be another disaster in Africa entirely. Because these people, they don't use, what they use is what we call missiles, kinetic forces and kinetic material in terms of fighting their own system. So even as everybody knows, Putin is already there. Listen, the China people are exploring those in that Niger. And Putin is collecting it and used to manufacture his own funds. So automatically now, even if you watch television, yes, even this morning as I'm talking to you, go and watch television, you see it. You see people, young government church, they are circling the state house or their own Asorok, that they don't want any forces from ECOWAS. That means we suffered a lot, like the guest rightly said. You ask yourself, after the ECOWAS war in Sierra Leone and Liberia, what did we benefit from it? United Nations, they were there. Every day we celebrate United Nations Day. They celebrated ECOWAS, the achievement they did there. No. Now, the money Nigerians spent there, have they been paid back? Nobody paid them. Nigerian soldiers have lost their lives. Their parents and their families have they been compensated? Nobody paid them. So, going to war in Niger is waste of resources. Look, let me tell you.
Sorry, Mazi, I beg your pardon. Thank you very much for calling in. I just want to take your last sentence as possibly summarizing, all of your intention. Just like Prof said that some of the things I was saying was condensing a lot of stuff that really needs expatiation. I think you ended with going to war in Niger via ECOWAS might not be the best option. Not that you use those particular words. But that's why I asked the Prof. And there's a sense in which I can understand that, well, in diplomacy, there are some things that are not exactly yes or no, I imagine. That's why I wanted to know, so what's next? So maybe I should just rephrase that to, Prof, what would you advise at this stage of the whole engagement where we're at now? The deadline has come and gone on Saturday, taking your correction. So Sunday has come on top of that. Here we are on Monday. Mohamed Bazoum is still, we believe he's alive. There's no reason to not believe that. And President Tinubu was emphatic about that it's very, very important that nothing must happen to him. But beyond that, he wants him restored to power. So what, with this kind of a conundrum, would you advise is the way to proceed?
Well, it is to face and do what we should have first of all done before issuing threats. We can be talking to ourselves in Isaleko and say, if you don't do it, I will deal with it. No, the international level is more complex. A small country is in a position to rubbish you. I have read our people showing the overwhelming force we have. And say, this number of tanks, this number of fighters, this. And I ask, did they go back to February of last year and look at the statistics of Ukraine and Russia? But Russia couldn't have thought that it would be fighting NATO.
No.
Because, yes, NATO is not physically on the ground, but NATO is pumping money and everything at Ukraine and making it impossible. The last was the United States providing cluster bombs for Ukraine. Have we thought about who and who would be interested in rubbishing us and supporting? It's not by accident that Algeria, one of the strongest forces on the continent, say that they will see an attack on Niger as an attack on themselves. They share border with Niger.
Complications that are just showing.
We sent a delegation to Liberia belatedly, to Algeria belatedly, because we should have done that first before we issued the threat. We sent a delegation at the same time as Abdulsalami Abubakar and the Sultan were going to Niger. Babagana Kingibe was leading a delegation to Algeria and Libya. But they have not told us. It was after they had gone and come back that we are hearing Algerians saying that they will consider an attack on Niger as an attack on themselves. So you're already seeing a widening.
Yes, let me tell you, I think Mr. Abubakar in Kaduna, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on. Go on now.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Mine is an opinion.
Sure.
Yes. Already Nigeria is facing a serious security challenges that has to do with Boko Haram insurgents. Due to that, Nigeria should act fast and deploy its troops across our borders with Niger. Because without doing so, it will give room to the terrorists to stage an attack on Nigeria, because that place is going to be porous. We are already at the receiving end. Nobody is supporting war, but as it is now, Nigeria must step forward and deploy its combatant troops across the borders, because we are already at risk. That is my opinion. So
all right then. Thank you very much, and thank you for keeping it short and sweet like that. About 1,000 kilometers of border that we can't...
almost 1,500 or something?
Kilometers of border, which we can't, even at the best of times, hope to police effectively. So maybe, not maybe, this is the reason stated by commentators in the north, politicians, senators saying that, come, if this thing happens the way the federal government is going, we will be a major casualty of it, yet we don't have a problem with them. And that's where it's showing up, this whole thing is showing up many of the complications that perhaps were not immediately seen. I don't know. And as you said, when I asked, so Prof, what can be done now? Well, you're saying we have to go back probably and do that which we should have done at the beginning now.
It is never late, because even when people fight live, you end up at the diplomatic table.
That's right.
On how to resolve. Ukraine just got Saudi Arabia to sponsor the possibility of a conference that will deal with its interests and the interest of Russia, to try to see, maybe by the end of this year, there could be discussions and whatever. Not that I want ourselves to have had our cities destroyed first before we start talking diplomacy. So right now, there is a need to de-escalate, and the de-escalation is to accept that you have a coup in Niger, not an attempt. That coup has succeeded, a coup that lasts more than 24 hours. You don't call it attempt anymore. Now, it could be possible to still bring Bazoum back, but it has to be negotiated with the people who are de facto in authority today.
And that's going to be a complex operation, I'm guessing.
No, you can do it diplomatically.
Okay.
You can do it diplomatically if you de-escalate first. Maybe, if I am asked, restoring the electricity that you cut from Niger, have your ambassador start to talk to the Nigerian.
The whole matter about losing face, that's an irrelevancy, right?
We've already lost the face. What are you talking about, losing face? We already lost the face. It didn't 7 days end on Saturday.
We're going to have to leave it there, Prof. I know there's such a lot more to be said about this matter, but thank you very much, Prof, for coming in, making time for us this morning. Professor Babafemi Badejo, formerly of the United Nations, Deputy Special Representative for Somalia, but today, a legal practitioner and professor of political science and international relations at Chrisland University in Abeokuta. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, sir. So that's the program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition, and if there are any developments, we probably will be talking about it. Bye-bye for now.
Is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone. Your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain? Not anymore. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the Contour Legacy Pillow, the patented, ergonomically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees, and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain. Watch, when you sleep on your side, your leg falls forward, twisting your pelvis and lower back, putting pressure on your spine, hip, and sciatic. But the Contour Legacy Pillow cushions your knees and cradles your legs, relieving stress on joints while restoring your lower back alignment. Sleeping on your side, your leg comes over and puts you out of alignment, causing lower back pain, hip pain, even knee pain. By using the Contour Legacy Pillow, it restores the natural alignment of the spine, helping to alleviate pain and pressure, leading to much more restful sleep. Old-fashioned leg pillows are bulky, but the anatomical design of the Legacy Pillow fits perfectly the shape of your body the way nature intended. You can even use two together for full leg alignment. Legacy Pillow is exclusively ventilated, so it always stays cool and dry. With top crescent design, it cuddles up to you perfectly and easily moves with you. Ordinary pillows go flat, but the Legacy Pillow is made up of soft memory foam, so it never loses its shape and the cover is machine washable. The Contour Legacy Pillow is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 500,000 naira for an orthopedic bed that doesn't properly support your spine. But call the number on your screen now and get 2 Legacy leg pillows for just 69,900 naira. and get relief from back and hip issues. But wait! If you call now, we'll upgrade you to the Contour Better Sleep Collection. The collection comes with 2 Contour Legacy leg pillows and 2 Contour Cool Gel head pillows at no extra charge. The Contour Cool Gel head pillows' soothing orthopedic support will cradle your head and neck for full alignment, while keeping you cool all through the night for the best sleep of your life. Incredible! That's 2 Contour Legacy pillows and 2 Cool Gel head pillows for just 69,900 naira. And that's not all. Place your order now and we'll also deliver your Contour Better Sleep collection with no shipping charge. But hurry! This is an exclusive ShopX TV offer and only available for a limited period. So, call now while stock lasts. Your rest is your wealth.
The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Hello and thank you for joining us on TVC Midday News. We begin in Plateau State, where an early morning attack on a village 3 kilometers from Mangu Township has left 4 persons dead. The women in Mangu are enraged by the constant disruptions to the peace and stability of the communities affected. A source told TVC News that women in Mangu are protesting the killings. Roads have been barricaded, preventing free movement in and out of the area. The women accused the military of not putting in place proactive measures to secure farmlands and protect vulnerable groups from incessant attacks. They marched to the command center where the military set up its base. They are asking the government to withdraw the soldiers. The bodies of the latest victims have been taken to the palace of the paramount ruler. We'll turn our attention now to neighboring Niger Republic, where coup leaders have closed the country's airspace after rejecting an ultimatum from the Economic Community of West African States to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. A spokesman for the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, Amadou Abdramani, says this development was as a result of ECOWAS's threat of military intervention. The spokesperson also noted that there had been a pre-deployment of forces in 2 Central African countries in preparation for intervention, but he did not give details. This move comes as thousands of coup supporters gathered at a stadium in Niger's capital, Niamey, to cheer on the generals who seized power. So far, the generals who seized power in Niamey on the 26th of July have shown no sign of willingness to give way. And still on the coup in Niger, uncertainty looms as Nigerians wonder what the next line of action would be following the ECOWAS ultimatum, which elapsed at midnight. But the Alumni Association of Nigeria's National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is calling on the regional bloc to continually engage dialogue in resolving the impasse. Sifonesian has details.
Uncertainty looms over a country of about 25 million people. Niger's junta refused to meet with emissaries sent by ECOWAS and Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu. There are indications the junta has sought the help from Russia's Wagner Group in anticipation of the use of force by ECOWAS following the end of a 7-day ultimatum to restore the democratically elected government.
Efforts to engage with all relevant stakeholders, dialogue and negotiations should be at the forefront of our...
Sanctions by the regional bloc have seen cuts to power supply from Nigeria to the landlocked country, among other penalties. But the junta is stuck to its guns. The Alumni Association of Nigeria's National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies calls for increased dialogue with the junta to resolve the impasse. In a statement, the association, which is an offshoot of one of